Hello everyone. Today we'll go on to the next problem in the projection of solid series. That is, we have the sixth question. A hexagonal prism 25 mm sides of base and 50 mm axis length rests on HP on one of its base corners. Draw the projections of the prism when the axis of the prism is inclined to HP at 45 degrees and to VP at 30 degrees. Now let us look into the criteria which we are supposed to satisfy to get the solution to the problem. The first criteria being the shape, which is a hexagonal prism. Second criteria is the dimensions, that is 25 mm sides and 50 mm axis length. Third, it is resting on HP. Fourth, it is resting on one of its base corners on HP. Fifth, the axis of the prism is inclined to HP at 45 degrees. And sixth, the axis of the prism is inclined to VP at 30 degrees. And yes, dear students, this is another beta angle problem, right? The first step is to draw the XY line. So let us get into that. So I have X, Y, VP and HP. Next step is to draw the hexagon. So we have a 25 mm sides of base. So let us take a radius of 25 mm and draw a circle of radius 25 mm to draw the hexagon. Right? So since we have one of its corners on the base on HP, we will have to draw this in such a way that it is resting on one of its corners on HP. So I'll be drawing a horizontal diameter. Now from this particular diameter points, on either side I shall cut the arcs. And I'll be able to get my hexagon, right? So let us join all these points with proper visible lines. And I'll be drawing two diagonals to locate my central axis point. So I've drawn two diagonals over here. So this point becomes my O bracket O1. So let me start naming the points now. So I have my points A bracket A1, B bracket B1, C bracket C1, D bracket D1, E bracket E1, and we have F bracket F1. So I always start with any one point and go in either clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. And let us now show the dimensions. So we have drawn the hexagon, we have shown the names, and now we will show the dimensions. So this happens to be of 25 mm, right? So now everything with respect to the first position top view is completed. So let us draw the first position front view now. So from each of these points, I will draw the projection lines. As you can observe, C bracket C1 and E bracket E1 is in a same straight vertical line. B bracket B1 and F bracket F1 will also be in the same straight vertical line. And I have A bracket A1, right? So from O bracket O1, I shall draw one more vertical line and then get the axis line. The axis line as per our question is 50 mm. So let us draw the axis line from here. So in corner condition, you can observe, you can see that the axis line is actually visible to us in the front view. But whereas in the edge condition, if you remember the question solution, it wasn't visible, right? So we have completed the drawing of the first position front view. So let us name the points now. So I have my point A1 dash over here. I have my point B1 dash bracket F1 dash O1 dash. This point here is my C1 dash bracket E1 dash. This point here is my D1 dash. This here is D dash, C dash bracket E dash, O dash, B dash bracket F dash, and I have my point A dash. So finally, let us show the dimensions. Alright. So I have 60 mm, sorry, 50 mm, now everything with respect to the first position, front view and top view is completed. So let us look into the second position. Here we have to satisfy the criteria that is resting on one of its corners of the base on HP, and the axis of the prism is inclined at 45 degrees to HP. Now here again I have a choice of either resting it on D1 dash or on A1 dash. Whether I rotate this front view in the clockwise direction like this, or I rotate it in the anti-clockwise direction, both the sides I have a corner, because of which I can make sure that it is resting on one of the corners on HP. So I will just rotate it in the clockwise direction such that it is resting on D1 dash. If you do rotate it in the anti-clockwise direction, you are not wrong. Okay, so let us take an appropriate point. So I'll take a point here. I'll call that as my D1 dash. So since I already told you this edge and this edge are both, this axis line is and this edge are both parallel to each other, so I shall draw 45 degrees from D1 dash, from the point which I have located over here. So 45 degrees. So let me locate the point. Now I'll measure 50 mm from here, 50 mm from here, and I shall cut the arc. So I've gotten my point D dash and I have my point D1 dash. Now from D dash and D1 dash I shall draw two perpendicular lines. And I shall locate all the other remaining points on this perpendicular lines, right? The first one is D1 dash to A1 dash, D1 dash to A1 dash. I shall keep it here, cut the arc, and D dash to A dash. Next, D1 dash to B1 dash bracket F1 dash. I shall keep it here, cut the arc here and over here. Then D1 dash to O1 dash. Again keep it here, cut the arc, and finally D dash to C1 dash bracket E1 dash. Keep it here, cut the arc. So we have located all the points. So let us join all these points with proper visible lines and the axis line, right? So this is my first visible line. This is my axis line. This is again another visible line. This is another visible line. So now let us name the points now. I have my C1 dash bracket, E1 dash, O1 dash. I'm sorry, this is not 1, this is just C1 and E1. Okay. So C dash and E dash, O dash, this is B dash bracket, F dash, this here is A dash, this is A1 dash, this is B1 dash bracket F1 dash, this is O1 dash, this is not O1, this is O dash over here, This is O1 dash. This here is C1 dash bracket E1 dash, and finally I have my D dash. Now when I extrapolate this line backwards, I know that the axis line will be inclined in an angle of 45 degrees to B2, right? So from each of these points I shall draw the projection lines. I shall leave the O dash and O1 dash to the later stages. So if you can observe, A dash and D1 dash will be in a same straight line. It will happen. But when you're drawing it manually, if there's a 1 mm offset, do not panic. It can be accepted, but not to a very large extent. But technically, A dash and D1 dash should come in a same straight line for this particular problem, because the the front view over here is a proper square and which is inclined an angle of 45 degrees. If the dimensions were different, then the 2 points A dash and D1 dash may not come in a same straight line. But for this particular problem, with this dimensions and the angle of inclination of 45 degrees, it will be in a same straight line. Okay. Right, so let us locate the points now. Let's go with A1, B1, C1, D1, E1, F1, and A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so I have my A and A1 over A1 and A1 dash over here. So this is my new A1, this is my new B1, new C1, D1, E1, and F1. Again, here my A dash and A, they are meeting here, and if you can observe, A is directly visible to me, whereas D1 is within brackets. Okay, B, C, D, E, and F. So let us apply the rules now to identify the hidden lines. So first rule is join all the outermost points with proper visible lines. So I have my outermost edges with visible lines which I am drawing here. Next, identify the point which is closest to the XY line or touching the XY line. In this case it is D1. So any line coming out of D1 will be a hidden line unless it is an outer edge, right? So the lines coming out of D1 is D1 to C1, D1 to E1, and D1 to D. So these three are not forming an outer edge, so they are automatically hidden lines. See, over a period of time, after you start applying the rules, you may not be needing to apply the rules directly. You'll be able to get the imagination abilities to identify the hidden lines. But right now, you can apply the rules to identify the hidden line. Then the last rule is all the other remaining lines are visible lines, right? So F to A, A to B, and A to A1. And the last one, let me do the axis line. This is my O and this here is my O1. And this particular segment will be your axis line. So as you can observe, all the three are coming in the same position. So I have the axis line, the visible line, and the hidden line coming over here in this particular portion. Please understand that the preference is given to the visible line, then the axis line, and then finally only the hidden line. Okay. So over here, this particular segment, I have the visible line from O1 to, that is from A1 to A, but O1 to this particular point here is my axis line, but since the visible line supersedes it, the preference is given to the visible line, right? Now here we are satisfying the second position, we are satisfying the criteria that is resting on one of its corners on HP and the axis is inclined at 45 degrees to HP. Next, the third position, we'll have to satisfy only one criteria, that is the axis is inclined at an angle of 30 degrees to VP. And yes people, this is another beta angle problem. What I will do is, as usually, I will try to draw a parallel line from the XY line. Centimeters. I think when you're drawing it with grids, it will be easier for you to draw a parallel line to the XY line. Then 30 degrees to VP. So I will take a appropriate point. I'll not take this point because I feel if I take this point, it may move across. So I will take another point over here somewhere. From here I shall draw a 30 degree line, right? Now if you people remember the beta angle procedure, please start doing that. O1 to O dash, the first measurement. From this point I shall measure and cut the arc. Next, through this point I shall draw a line which is parallel to the XY line or the reference line. So all these three lines are parallel to each other, okay? Please remember that. Next I shall come to the second position top view, O dash to O1 dash. Hopefully my figure will not cross the XY line or the reference line. Okay, let us see. If it does, you people will have to please forgive me for that. So this is my beta angle. The beta angle which I have gotten as per the drawings over here is 47 degrees. Okay, so let us see now. Now I have my point O and I have my point O1. That is, I have to recreate the second position top view over here. My O and O1 have been located. So let us locate the other points. So O1 to A1 will be the same as D to O. So I'll cut the arcs over here and this side. Okay, I think it will cross the XY line. I'll stop it at this point. I'll re-erase. I'll relocate the points O and O1, right? So I'll move a little more down. But beta angle procedure remains the same. Okay. So I shall take a point over here somewhere. My point O over here. Okay. Now I'll measure O to O1. This becomes my point O1. Right. Now I'll measure O1 to A1 and D to O. Keeping it here. I'll cut the arc on the same line only. I have not changed that line. Okay. So this becomes my point D, this distance, and this becomes my point A1. Next, O to A bracket D1. Okay. So O to A bracket D1, I've cut the arc here. So this becomes my point A bracket D1. Okay. Next, D to E and D to C remains the same. So D to E somewhere here and D to C. Next, A bracket D1 to E, A bracket D1 to E and A bracket D1 to C, they are the same. Keeping it here, I shall cut the arc and cut the arc. So I have my point E and I have my point C. Similarly, I'll come this side now. A1 to F1, A1 to F1 and A1 to B1. So A1 to F1 and A1 to B1, this side here. A bracket D1 to A bracket B1. I'll cut the arc here and I'll cut the arc here. So I have my point F1 and I have my point B1. So I'll join this. It is coming to a nice shape. Right? So I have this point also over here. Now the next target is to identify the point E1, F, C1 and B. So simple, I'll do this. I'll measure the distance from E to F, which will be the same as C to B. So E to F, I shall measure it and cut the arc, and C to B, I'll measure and cut the arc. So I have my point F over here and I have my point B. It will be the same as F1 to E1 and B1 to C1. So F1 to B1, I'll keep it here, cut the arc, B1 to C1. So I have my point C1 and I have my point E1. So join all these points with proper visible lines and the hidden lines. So basically we are recreating the second position, top view in the third position, top view, but inclined at an angle of beta angle basically. Right? So I have recreated that figure over here, this figure over here, but inclined an angle of, and this happens to be 30 degrees, right? Now let us draw the projection lines and get the third position front view from each of these points. So please be very careful. There are a total of 6 plus 6, that is A1, B1, C1, D1, E1 and F1 and A, B, C, D, E, F. So 6 and 6, that's totally 12 points that you will have to locate. So let us start one by one. So let us start with A. Next B, C, D, E, and F. So I have gone with one particular surface at a time. So A, B, C, D, E, F. So similarly, I will draw the projection lines from here also. So A dash, B dash bracket F dash, C dash bracket E dash, and finally D dash. Okay. So let us locate the points now. My point A and A dash are meeting here. So this is my new A dash. B and B dash are meeting here. So this is my new B dash. C and C dash are meeting here. So my new C dash. D and D dash are meeting here. So my new D dash. E and E dash are meeting here. This is my new E dash. And F and F dash are meeting here. This is my new F dash. Now I will do the same. I'll draw the same thing for the A1, B1, C1, D1, E1 and F1. So from A1, please be very careful. There are multiple projection lines. C1, D1 and A1, I have a common projection line here. E1 and F1. And here also I have A1 dash and D dash having a common projection line. Okay. B1 dash bracket F1 dash have one common projection line, and C1 dash bracket E1 dash also have one common projection line. And I'm not going to draw a projection line from D1 dash because it's along the XY line. So A1 and A1 dash, where are they meeting? They're meeting over here. So this becomes my new A1 dash. B1 and B1 dash are meeting. So this becomes my new B1 dash. C1 and C1 dash are meeting here. This is my new C1 dash. D1 and D1 dash are meeting here. So this is my new D1 dash. E1 and E1 dash are meeting here. This is my new E1 dash. And F1 and F1 dash are meeting here. This is my new F1 dash. Right? So we have located all the points that is to be located. Now let us apply the rules again. The rule states that the outermost lines points are to be joined with visible lines. So let us start with the first rule. C1 dash and C dash, draw projection line. C dash to B dash, sorry, not projection line, visible line. Then C dash to B dash, another visible line. B dash to A dash, another visible line. A dash to F dash, F dash to F1 dash, F1 dash to E1 dash, E1 dash to D1 dash, and D1 dash back to E1 dash. Okay, now this is the first rule that we have done. The second rule is identify the points closest to the XY line. In this case, this is a hexagon, so we'll have to locate 3 points, that is D, E and F. So that is D, E and F. So any line coming out of D dash, E dash and F dash will be a hidden line. So that is D dash, E dash and F dash. So D, E and F. Please do not get confused with D1, C1 and E1. So after locating D, E and F over here, don't go to D1, E1 and F1. It is D, E and F. There's a difference between D1 and D, right? So any line coming out of D1, D dash will be a hidden line unless it is an outer edge. So the line coming out of D dash is D dash to C dash, D dash to E dash and D dash to D1 dash. All these 3 lines are not forming an outer edge, so automatically becomes a hidden line, right? So draw the hidden line here. Next, coming to E or E dash. So any line coming out of E dash will also be hidden line. That is E dash to D dash, E dash to F dash and E dash to E1 dash. So E dash to D dash we have already drawn. We don't have to redraw it again. E dash to F dash, it is another hidden line. It is not forming a part of the outer edge. and E dash to E1 dash. Next, coming to F. So any line coming out of F will be a hidden line unless it is an outer edge. So F dash to A dash, F dash to F1 dash are both forming an outer edge. It cannot be a hidden line. But F dash to E dash, yes, it can be a hidden line, but we have already drawn that. Next, the fourth rule states that all the other remaining lines are to be drawn with visible line. So that is A1 dash to F1 dash, A1 dash to A dash, A dash A1 dash to B1 dash. Next, B1 dash to A1 dash, B1 dash to B dash, and B1 dash to again C1 dash. Right? So we have located all our visible lines. So if you can observe, where is it? A dash to A1 dash, B dash to B1 dash, C dash to C1 dash, D dash to D1 dash, E dash to E1 dash, and F dash to F1 dash. All these lines are parallel to each other. So you can come to the conclusion that yes, your figure is absolutely right. Now finally, let us draw the axis line. So let us draw the projection lines for O at O1. Sorry. So I have my point O dash and O1 dash. Right? Yes. So we have our solution. Thank you for your time.